Now, Patsy Morgan-Dibben, who we'll see in this next picture, you will see on the next page, we're going to get his images. She's down here. It's Patsy Morgan-Dibben. What's she doing here? She's representing someone. There you go at the top. Former Somerset farmer Patsy Morgan-Dibben runs a publicity agency in London's West End. I like saying that. I wonder if that's Horace Dibben. I can't quite tell. But that's Patsy by there. And so she was running a publicity agency. There she is again. But it looks almost like, why are these pictures getting the publicity agent in the frame? It seems really suspicious. I can't understand it. So they got a photographer taking a picture of a photographer taking a picture of a woman, but this is so that then they talk about the first and foremost Somerset farmer. They're talking about her rather than mentioning straight away Zena. I think her name's Zena Marshall or something, who's in the picture, which is a really strange one. Why are they bringing Patsy Morgan-Dibben to fame? But this was what Horace Dibben did. He was a real PR agent. He knew how to get them featured in things. Here she is again with another actress helping put her nose on. Former Somerset farmer again helps Jean Carson, star of Love from Judy, with a clown nose, helping her put her clown nose. But that's Patsy Morgan-Dibben, and she's going to go missing. And she was the next hostess along from Esmeralda Noel Smith in Esmeralda's Barn. And she goes missing after Esmeralda dies, after all of these other nightclub deaths, after all of this stuff. Patsy Morgan-Dibben, who is here being serenaded by Kai Grant, who's a Guyanese musician and guitarist. She's sitting here enjoying being serenaded by this guy in Esmeralda's Barn in this very picture, and she becomes the hostess with the mostess. That's what Horace Dibben makes her into. And this is where she goes missing. So this is the Sunday Pictorial, August the 19th, 1956. So you're talking a year after Esmeralda's gone missing, months after all these other has died, and months after all these other nightclub girls go missing. Sorry, not go missing, die. And explained when. Esmeralda's Barn again hits the front pages of the Sunday Pictorial with a picture of Patsy Morgan-Dibben, and it says something exciting is to happen, and the nightclub riddle. So the pictorial reporter reports of Earl of Warwick answers a pick call. The Guardian of a beautiful young London nightclub owner yesterday asked the Sunday Pictorial to help him find her. She disappeared 6 weeks ago. The Guardian is Mr. Horace Dibben, who lives in a luxury flat in Eaton Place, Belgravia. The girl is Patsy Morgan-Dibben, 28. 6 weeks ago, she left Esmeralda's Barn, the Knightsbridge club that she had been running for the past year. The Pictorial took up the quest. Last night, we had traced Patsy as far as the French Riviera. A likely story. Are they going to speak to her? No. We put the telephone call through to the Villa Grevilla at St. John Cap Ferrat. The villa is owned by the Honourable Richard Maynard Greville, younger brother of the 45-year-old Earl of Warwick, already hanging with the aristocracy. The Earl himself answered the call. Patsy left by air on Friday morning, he said. For Zurich, I think. I don't know exactly where Richard is, but I think he's touring Italy. I should think he's with Patsy. So he's gone to Zurich, then down to Italy. He's in Italy. I don't understand. There's no mystery about Patsy's stay here. She came here several weeks ago and has been here before. She has been my guest, has been the guest of my brother and myself. Whatever people might have said about this are baseless slanders. We have been friends for a long time, and this was purely a social occasion. I saw very little of her, as she spent much of the time with other guests, whatever friends she may have. Let me see if the thing. Her business, so far as I'm concerned, hers alone. Patsy is quite capable of working out her own intimate problems in her own way. When the dark and glamorous... sorry, I'm still speaking in his voice there. But as you hear there, he gives this rundown, this long rundown, this aristocrat is given a reason to a newspaper why it's all no, she's with them over there. Don't worry about it. Oh my God, and what anybody says is lies. Well, what are people saying? Because I didn't find anybody saying anything anyway. So what is being said? Is Horace saying stuff to get these people to find her? Is this because all the nightclub girls went missing, or died in all different ways? Is this from that? Because there's some weird things about this disappearance of Patsy, and then these like appearances she has in the newspaper where you don't really know if they're real appearances, whether she's actually alive or if they're just made up to make it look like she's still around by people who are trying to supply cover for people who got rid of Patsy Morgan-Dibben. Patsy is quite capable of working out her own intimate problems in her own way. When the dark and glamorous Patsy, a former model, took over Esmeralda's bar a year ago, she was acclaimed as London's newest and youngest nightclub owner. She's described as a nightclub owner here. The club's previous owner, Miss Esmeralda Noel Smith, had just died in tragic circumstances. Oh, that was convenient for Patsy, but she wasn't the owner, was she? Horace Dibben was the owner alongside other people. She was found gassed in her flat after a midnight party. Patsy, daughter of South London grocer, was in charge of the club every night until the beginning of last month. Brief note. Before leaving, suddenly, she told the manager, Stephen DeFay, former host of BBC Television's Cafe Continental, "I can't tell you why I'm going, but something exciting is to happen." For Mr. Horace Dibben, she left a brief note. She has lived at Mr. Dibben's home in Eaton Place, Belgravia, since she became his ward at the age of 12. They say 12. That's really worrying. If that's true, then it's before the war and it's worrying. And he would have had servants, more likely. I mean, they had servants. They had like 40. He claimed they had 14 servants in his dad's house. So someone would have looked after her during the war while he was away, if she had been, and gone to him when she was 12. And it is worrying if that's the case. And he joined his name to hers, Morgan-Dibben. When Mr. Dibben asked for the pictorial's aid in finding her, he said, "I don't know what's been happening. I'm anxious for Patsy to come home. I know that my legal guardianship ended when she became 21, but this doesn't alter the bond between us." After he became Patsy's guardian, Mr. Dibben sent her to the best schools. She was taught to ride, to ski, to dance, to hold her own with the most exclusive members of the international social set. She was groomed to have sex with people, famous people in front of other people. And that got everybody used to all of this behavior. Stars know her. Patsy was known by her first name, not only to the club's visitors like Billy Wallace, artist Antigone, and Duke of Kent, but also to many stage and screen stars. Well, she was already known because she was already doing the work as a publicity agent. But the rest, saying that she knew visitors like Antigone. Antigone was still going there. He had originally designed it, and then Esmeralda had covered up his design. It will be uncovered again by Stephen DeFay, the manager who was mentioned up there, but in 1960. And Antigone is the man who painted two portraits of Queen Elizabeth around this time. The Duke of Kent keeps coming up in this story. So that one is from the Sunday Pictorial, and the date is August the 19th, 1956. And this one here is, I can see it, you can't see it, it's from July 28th, 1957. And so there's no evidence that she is alive. They use the same picture as before, which you can't really see behind me, but they use the same picture before, and they put down Mordaunt Smith, but there's no evidence that she is actually there. This is Peter Hawkins. No, it's not mentioned who writes these articles. It's put down as pictorial reporters. So whether it's the same person, I do not know. But they Pictorial was owned by Sunday Mirror, but this is also Sunday Pictorial. So this is still Patsy. So it could very well be Peter Hawkins wrote the last one as well. Same newspaper. Patsy Morgan-Dibben, the girlfriend of tenant who taught the airs and graces of high society by a wealthy man, just like Eliza Doolittle in Shaw's Pygmalion, may now marry into society. Michael Morton Smith, 30-year-old nephew of Lord Honor and Brown, one of the biggest landowners in Ireland, said in Dublin yesterday, "Patsy is the most wonderful girl in the world. We discussed marriage this week, as we have done many times before, but nothing definite has yet been arranged." So they discussed marriage, as they have many times, but nothing has been arranged. So they may marry into society. How is this a headline? It's been seeded into here. How is it a headline? A girl may marry. They talked about it, and they're probably not going to do it anytime soon. That's not a headline. That's not a news story for a Sunday paper with a big circulation in the UK. It's not. That's all. Dark and glamorous Patsy, 28, spent the day at the New Forest home of her father in Southampton, a Southampton grocer. She told me on the phone, "It's true, we have discussed marriage. That is all I want to say at the moment." In March, the Pictorial told the fantastic story of Patsy's grooming by Horace Hod Dibben, the antique connoisseur who became her guardian, on her rise to fame in the West Club End club set, and her decision to leave Hod Dibben because I could not put up with my West End life any longer. So she disappears to nowhere. Patsy was 16-year-old typist when she met Dibben. Again, see? So there's problems with this story. Horace, in the last Pictorial article, it says she was 12, and here it says she was 16. She answered his advertisement, intelligent young girl wanted for antiques business. Later, she changed her name from Patsy Morgan to Morgan-Dibben, and Dibben sent her to an exclusive finishing school. She became poised and sophisticated woman, and eventually took charge of Knightsbridge Club, hostess to society folk and stage and screen celebrities. She was trained up to infiltrate people by using her charms, by someone who was ex-military and was hanging around with all the aristocrats who were all involved in espionage in a nightclub that was having dead letter drops and was full of Soviets sharing information, and Western intelligence agents trying to compromise them at the same time. This is what she was groomed for. She was groomed to be really a sex compromise operative, and this is why they publicized her, but there's no actual evidence and she's alive. There's a lot of like sensitive she's with her dad. Yeah, I found nothing. I found rumors. I found Lillian Pizzacchini talks about her in a book and what she goes off and does. It's all, oh, she's over in Europe and she's jet skiing around the place and all of this stuff, and there's no evidence of it. I haven't found any evidence of her after that time. Well, she doesn't marry Morton Smith. She gave poised and a sophisticated woman, and eventually took charge of Knightsbridge. When she suddenly walked out last year, her disappearance was front page news. Yeah, it was, because she no longer existed. She just disappeared. Didn't tell anyone. 6 weeks later, they started reporting it, and she had apparently told the manager, I something wonderful happened. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Mr. Morton Smith said, "The last 12 months have perhaps been pretty hard ones for Patsy. I thought she was having a great time. I've known her for a few years, but our romance did not start until a few months ago." This is what they're saying. Now, I think Morton Smith is someone who's going to come up again probably in my investigations, because I investigated a bit about this and there's some very interesting stuff, and there's something really iffy about Patsy Morgan-Dibben's disappearance, especially as girls kept disappearing or dying from nightclubs during this period. Now, weird. Here we go. Weird stuff is about to be discussed. So, the Sunday Dispatch. This is 1957 as well. So the last one is, so this is 4 months before the last one. So 4 months before that last one was put in, they put another thing about Patsy Morgan-Dibben. Ex-major and girl plan to shoot drop over pole. They'd be the first people to do this. So you think she'd be trained or something like this. But no, this weird thing. It's like so bizarre. Sunday Dispatch reporter. A man who once kidnapped a German general and a beautiful woman who has never jumped from anything higher than a bar stool are planning to parachute down to the frozen wastes of the North Pole. And they hope it will be money-making adventure. No one has ever parachuted into the Arctic Circle, although civil airliners are now flying over the pole. Mr. William Stanley Moss, author of Ill Met by Moonlight, and wartime member of the British Special Operations Services, hopes that on Midsummer Day, that's a bit of a Satanist cultist sort of time, he will be the first. So again, Hod Dibben connected with cults, all of this. Patsy Morgan-Dibben goes missing. They give loads of these weird reasons where what she's doing, but you don't see her again in the club or hear about her again. She just didn't like that life. She's gone now. She's over in Europe. Don't worry about her. Nightclub owner. And with him will drop 27-year-old raven-haired Patsy Morgan-Dibben. So this is crazy. Grocer's daughter turned nightclub owner and a number of other adventurers. Main idea of the drop will be to find out just how dangerous it is. Let's just drop out. If we die, then we know it's dangerous, don't we? Yes, we do. Okay, let's go. But Mr. Moss hopes that, as in the case of the Mayflower, the film rights and television rights will be sold for larger fees. Mr. Moss told me, I am doing this in the spirit of adventure, but there is a very serious side to it. We will submit a full report on conditions we experience to the Airways Company when we return. Husky dogs, sledges, and all our provisions will be dropped from air in special plastic containers. We will then travel the 200 miles to the edge of the ice where we are to be picked up by boat. Other members of the team will include a doctor, a photographer, and a scientist. One other woman is likely to join the party. Mr. Moss, then a major in Special Operations Services, took part in one of the most fantastic cloak and dagger escapades during the war. With another British officer, he kidnapped Major General Karl Kripe, a German officer who commanded Crete. Miss Morgan-Dibben told me, I know people will think I'm crazy to go. Perhaps I am, but it sounds like fun anyway. Right. Bullshit. I call bullshit on this. 1956. She's reported as going missing, and no one, and a load of people say, "Oh yeah, she's over in the continent." Next thing, she's being dropped. She's about to jump out of the airplane to be the first person to parachute over the North Pole. That seems like a big jump, big leap, massive leap. Not just jumping out of the plane. I mean, the going missing, then this, and now I'm married into society. I'm not sure any of this passes the smell test, and this is what you find about Horace Dibben.